over a campfire. Chapter 4, Trailblazer's Rise. The bus hissed to a stop, its brakes sighing against the gravel. A sleepy hush blanketed the interior. Heads lolled against windows, and soft snores mingled with the rustle of backpacks. The sun had climbed higher during the ride, now casting long, slanted rays through the smudged bus windows. Hannah had been sitting quietly near the middle, her knees curled up on the seat, and a paperback novel propped against her thighs. 6 feet under, a gripping murder mystery, she had secretly slipped into her overnight bag. Her parents would have never approved. Too violent, too dark, too unpredictable. Her mother preferred Hannah to read biographies of accomplished young women or curated historical fiction from a pre-approved list. But this one she had picked up from Gina a week ago, and it had pulled her into a world of shadows and secrets far removed from her own sheltered life. The book had just reached a tense cliffhanger when her phone buzzed violently against the seat beside her. "Mom," flashed across the screen. Her heart jumped. For a moment, irrational panic seized her, not because of the call itself, but because the sudden realization hit her. Mom wasn't here. Her mother wasn't just down the hall, or a few rooms away. She was hours away, in a different city. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was a physical distance between them. And yet, here she was, reaching through the phone. Hannah wiped her clammy palms on her jeans and swiped to answer. "Hello," she whispered. "Hannah, sweetheart." Her mother's voice broke in and out like a scratched record. "Just wanted to remind you. Be careful, don't." "Mom? I can't hear you," Hannah said, pulling the phone closer to her ear. The signal bar blinked weakly. "We're here. It's fine." More static. Then nothing. The call dropped. Hannah stared at the screen for a long second, caught between relief and unease. She had expected a checklist of instructions, a worried plea to stay away from dirt or fire pits, maybe a gentle reminder to sanitize her pillowcase. But now that the voice was gone and the line had gone dead, the silence felt strange, too quiet. She slipped the book back into her bag, making sure the cover wasn't visible. Outside, the camp buzzed with soft murmurs and the clatter of students stretching and grabbing their luggage. The wide clearing held several rustic cabins nestled among tall pine trees. A wooden sign read, "Silver Pines Nature Retreat." The scent of pine needles and damp earth filled the air. The air outside was cooler than expected. A gentle breeze rustled the pine trees that surrounded the camp, carrying with it the fresh scent of soil and distant campfires. The students spilled out of the bus in lazy waves, stretching, yawning, tugging at their bags. Hannah stepped off slowly, looking around the campsite, her mind still half draped in the fog of that last dropped call. "Let's go." Miss Collins's voice pierced the drowsy mood. "Everyone grab your bags and head to your rooms. Meet at the center hall in 30 minutes sharp for lunch and orientation." A wave of motion rippled through the group. Students stumbled out, pulling their bags behind them. Lena, usually one of the more composed ones, stood frozen near the luggage compartment. Her eyes darted left and right. "My bag," she muttered. "Where's my bag? What does it look like?" Gina asked, standing on her toes to look. "It's pastel blue, with little strawberry pins on the zipper," Lena said, her voice rising. "It had my Polaroid camera in it. I was going to take photos." Her words choked into a sniffle. "We'll help you find it later," Ms. Collins said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "For now, head to your room. There's a chance it got loaded into another group's pile." Reluctantly, Lena nodded, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. Hannah picked up her sleek purple duffel and followed the group down the gravel path. She and Gina were assigned cabin 4B, a modest wooden structure with a tiny porch and white shutters. Their rooms were in a long, wooden lodge-style building with green roofs and stone steps. After a quick check-in with the teachers, students were handed keys and directed to their respective quarters. Hannah and Gina had barely walked into their room, a cozy, rustic space with bunk beds and a small window facing the woods, when a small thud drew Hannah's attention to the glass. Hannah dropped her bag and immediately walked to the window, drawn by a strange sensation, like she was being watched. The curtains fluttered slightly, though the window was closed. Something about the way the light filtered through the trees made the air inside feel slightly off-kilter, like a scene too perfect to be real. "Hey, come on. I'm starving," Gina called out, tugging Hannah by the wrist. "We'll unpack later." They said lunch is first come, first serve, and I am not getting the soggy sandwiches. Hannah hesitated, glancing once more at the window, but Gina was already halfway out the door. With a small sigh, she followed. Across the camp, laughter and footsteps echoed as students hurried toward the large wooden building marked Center Hall. At the front steps, Mia stood with her hands on her head, visibly flustered. I locked the key inside, she groaned. I thought it was in my pocket, but ugh. Did you tell a teacher? Asked one of the boys passing by. I will, Mia said, already spinning on her heel toward Miss Collins. Of all the days to be this Mia. The hall was buzzing inside. Long wooden tables were arranged mess style, and trays of hot food sat under warmers. A poster near the entrance read, Welcome to Silver Pines. Today's menu: camp chili, cornbread, egg sandwiches, apple pie. Lunch was a cheerful blur, trays of food, clattering cutlery, and students bouncing from table to table. Hannah sat beside Gina and Mia, nibbling at her grilled sandwich and sipping juice as chatter filled the large, wooden-beamed hall. A few teachers circled the room, some seated with the students, others scanning the name lists on their clipboards. Gina had already grabbed a tray. They actually have dessert, she said gleefully. I told you this trip was going to be amazing. Hannah smiled, half-focused. Her thoughts drifted back to the window. Something had felt strange. Not dangerous, exactly, but not quite right either. Once everyone had eaten, the lead organizer, a tall woman with a broad smile and hiking boots caked in dried mud, clapped twice. All right, campers, she called out, her voice slicing through the noise like a whistle. Now that everyone's settled and fed, it's time for the real fun to begin. A murmur of curiosity rose among the students. We're splitting you all into teams for the duration of camp, she continued. Each team will have one teacher assigned to them, and you'll complete activities together, earn points, and yes, possibly win a prize at the end. That got their attention. A buzz of excitement filled the room as the group was divided. Hannah, Gina, Mia, and Lena formed Team 3, with Ms. Rayner, their science teacher, assigned as their guide. She gave them a lopsided grin and saluted them with a half-eaten granola bar. Your first task, she said, is to come up with a team name, design a flag, and create a motto that represents your group. You have 45 minutes. Supplies are in that corner. A table nearby was stacked with fabric scraps, paint, markers, glue, scissors, and even a few glitter tubes. Gina dove in head first. We need something cool. Like Camp Queens. Mia wrinkled her nose. Too cheesy. What about something fierce, like the Storm Chasers? I like the Trailblazers, Hannah offered, surprising herself. It sounds strong, and kind of adventurous. The group paused. Then a few heads nodded in agreement. I love that, Lena said. We'll make a flame logo. Ooh, and our motto can be, where the path ends, we begin. Ms. Rayner raised an eyebrow. That's poetic. They got to work, paint and laughter flying freely. Hannah traced out flames while Gina scribbled the motto in bubble letters. Mia, ever the perfectionist, adjusted their design layout twice, and Lena managed to accidentally spill orange glitter across half the table. Later that afternoon, the students reassembled at the open field where flags flapped proudly in the breeze. Every team presented their name, flag, and motto to the rest of the group, some getting applause, others laughter. The Trailblazers received a solid cheer. Next, one of the instructors announced, clapping her hands to gather attention, we begin the adventure rounds. Your teams will rotate through several activities, each designed to build teamwork, test creativity, and of course, have fun. A few students groaned playfully while others hooped. Ms. Rayner, their team supervisor, gave Team Trailblazers a thumbs up. Let's win at least one of these, she said with a warm smile. The Trailblazers' first stop was a tug-of-war. They were pitted against the Thunderfeet, a boisterous, mostly boy team already hyped up on sugar and shouting slogans like they were heading into battle. We're gonna drag you into the mud, yelled Ethan, a lanky boy from the Thunderfeet, flexing dramatically. In your dreams, Gina shouted back. Trailblazers don't go down easy. Everyone grabbed the rope, Ms. Rayner instructed. Feet firm, back straight. On my count, 3, 2, 1, pull. Grunts filled the air as both teams leaned backward, the rope stiff and trembling between their hands. Hannah dug her heels into the dirt, her arms shaking. Come on, Trailblazers, Mia shouted. We've got glitter on our flag and fire in our hearts. Then came the shouting from behind. Zoe and Mike were at it again. Mike, pull harder. Zoe yelled, teeth gritted. You're barely trying. I am trying. Mike snapped back. You're the one holding us back. Oh please, Zoe barked. You call that trying? I've seen squirrels pull with more muscle. Mike let out a scoff. Maybe if you stopped talking and actually pulled, we'd win something for once. Zoe's eyes flashed. You think you're strong just because you yell louder? You couldn't even hold a shopping bag without wheezing. Mr. Hahn, their team supervisor, was shocked and disappointed with the attitude these boys had. He came in furiously and said, That's enough, boys. Let's play this like a sport. Teamwork is the key. Mike and Zoe, however, did not stop as it hit their ego. They continued arguing as though Mr. Hahn never existed. At least I don't pretend to be one of the guys just to prove I'm strong enough, Mike bit back. What's that supposed to mean? You know exactly what it means. Zoe's grip tightened on the rope, jaw clenched. Say that again, he dared. Guys, focus. Gina interrupted, teeth clenched as she strained. If we're gonna lose, let's lose with dignity, not drama. But the distraction had already cost them. The Thunderfeet gave one final heave, and with a unified yell, they yanked the rope free from the Trailblazers' weakening grip, sending half the team, including Zoe and Mike, tumbling into the dirt. There was a pause, then laughter, first from the Thunderfeet, then from the Trailblazers themselves. Even Zoe cracked a crooked grin as he wiped mud from his elbow. Next time, I'm switching ends. Away from him. Mike shook his head, half laughing despite himself. Fine by me. Ms. Rayner gave them both a look that said, noted, but didn't comment. All right, Trailblazers. Shake it off. More challenges ahead. Next came the blindfold maze. All right, said the instructor at the station. One person wears the blindfold, the other gives voice instructions. No touching. The cones are your obstacles. Knock one down, and you're out. I'll be the eyes, Mia said, already tying the blindfold around Hannah's head. I don't trust you not to walk into a tree. I can still hear your sarcasm, Hannah muttered, nervous and blind. Good. You'll need it. Okay, step forward. Little more. Stop. Hannah froze mid-step. Now turn right. No, your other right. I knew that, Hannah said, smiling nervously. Sure you did. Now step. Over. Yes. There's a cone to your left. Veer right. Good. Now 2 steps forward, and done. You survived. Hannah yanked the blindfold off, blinking in the bright sun. I don't know if I survived you or the maze. Then came the tower build challenge. The instructor handed each team a small box. Inside, 30 spaghetti sticks, 15 marshmallows, 1 meter of tape, and 5 minutes. Build the tallest freestanding tower you can. Hands off at the buzzer. Gina clapped her hands. Okay, people, think like engineers. Or at least like kids building a snack castle. Lena held up a marshmallow. Can I eat one? No, Mia and Hannah said at the same time. Mia tapped her chin thoughtfully. Let's build a triangle base for stability. Are we really talking about geometry right now? Gina asked. I love it. As the timer ticked down, their spaghetti tower stood impressively tall, wobbling slightly, but still upright. Time's up, called the instructor. Hands off. The instructor came around with a ruler. Their structure came in second place, beat only by a team that had, somehow, used sneaky twigs from nearby trees. That's cheating, Mia said indignantly. I admire the hustle, Gina shrugged. After a quick water break and a round of enthusiastic cheering from Ms. Rayner, the camp instructors gathered all the students in the main field. All right, campers, one of the instructors, Coach Devin, called out, raising his voice over the hum of conversation. Time for a game we call Soak and Sabotage. The students buzzed with excitement. In the center of the field is a giant bucket full of water, Coach Devin explained, gesturing toward a huge blue tub glistening under the sun. Each team has a dry, empty bucket at the edge of the field. The goal? Use the sponge to soak water from the central bucket and fill any other team's bucket. Not your own. The students blinked. You heard me right, Coach Devin grinned. If your team's bucket gets filled to the marked line, you're out. You don't want water. You want to stay dry. Oh, it's sabotage? Mia gasped, wide-eyed. Exactly. Only one team survives. Fastest, smartest, sneakiest wins, Coach Devin said. Each team will send out one player at a time. You'll soak, sprint, and squeeze. No guarding buckets. No splashing others. Only sponges. Laughter and murmurs of strategy rippled through the teams. Hannah leaned in close to Gina and Mia. So we're trying to make the other teams drown in water? Basically, Gina grinned. Let's drown the Thunderfeet first. As the whistle blew, chaos erupted. 24 students dashed back and forth, some running with soaked sponges, others cheering wildly from their zones. Zoe bolted to the center, dunked his sponge in the water, and beelined straight for the Firehawks bucket. He wrung it out furiously. Meanwhile, Mike zigzagged like a football player, faking one direction before dumping water into the Trailblazer's bucket with a smug look at Zoe. Oh, he's asking for it, Zoe muttered, racing back in. Mia took a turn next, targeting the Thunderfeet with deceptive innocence. Why us? Ethan groaned as water sloshed into their bucket. We're too popular. Gina made eye contact with Hannah. Teamwork. On it. Hannah nodded, grabbing the sponge and heading toward the Firehawks. The field turned into a slippery, wild blur. Screams and laughs echoed as alliances formed and dissolved in seconds. Then crash. Mike, sprinting with a dripping sponge, collided shoulder first with Jason from the Sky Shredders. Both tumbled hard into the grass. Watch where you're going, man. Jason snapped, jumping up and wiping mud off his arm. You ran into me, genius. Mike shot back, face red with frustration. Try using your eyes next time. Jason stepped closer. Or maybe stop pretending you're some MVP. You think this is the NFL or something? Mike scoffed. Better that than moving like a grandma, doing Tai Chi. A few nearby students started to inch away, sensing the tension. But before it could get worse. Enough, barked Ms. Blakely, striding toward them like a thundercloud. This isn't the gladiator arena. Both boys froze. Mike, Jason, congrats, you've officially made yourselves look ridiculous. If you'd like to keep playing, pick up your sponges and keep it clean. If not, I'm sure the kitchen staff could use 2 strong, overly dramatic volunteers for dish duty. Jason muttered something under his breath. Mike just grumbled and walked off, wringing out his sponge with a little too much force. Zoe, passing by, smirked. Did the big boys bump heads? Neither responded. The game rolled on. Soon, cries erupted as the Sky Shredder's bucket hit the fill line. They were the first eliminated. Then went the Thunderfeet. Only Trailblazers and Firehawks remained. Everyone was breathless. The instructors refilled the central bucket. Final round, double time. Coach Devin shouted. Zoe narrowed his eyes at Mike, and they both bolted at once. As Zoe dumped water into the Firehawks' nearly full bucket, Mike dashed behind him and drenched the Trailblazers with his final squeeze. Everyone waited. A tiny stream dripped down the side of the Firehawks' bucket, just an inch below the line. But the Trailblazers' bucket? The water had just touched the red mark. Trailblazers disqualified. Coach Devin declared with a grin. Firehawks win. Groans and laughter broke out as the Firehawks erupted into celebration. Zoe threw his sponge dramatically at Mike's feet. You're still the worst, you know that. Mike wiped sweat off his brow. Maybe, but I win with style. Even Hannah couldn't help but laugh. As everyone gathered for the next activity, drenched, muddy, and laughing, it didn't matter who won. The game had done what it was meant to. Bring chaos, fun, and a whole lot of splashing. By the end of the afternoon, Hannah's hair was windswept, her sneakers were caked in mud, and her cheeks hurt from smiling so much. Something inside her had uncoiled, some tension she didn't even know she carried. I forgot how fun it is to just be, she said quietly to Gina as they walked back to the lodge. Gina looked over and grinned. Yeah, well, get used to it. The fun's just starting. By the time the sky blushed into twilight and the last of the evening activities wrapped up, exhaustion clung to the students like a second skin. The air was heavy with the scent of damp grass and tired laughter. Mud-streaked shoes dragged along the path to the cabins, and backpacks slumped over shoulders as if just as worn out as the bodies carrying them. Even the usually chatty ones, Lena, Gina, and Mia, had gone quiet, their energy long spent on tug-of-war battles, spaghetti towers, and blindfolded chaos. Hannah trudged alongside them, her limbs aching in ways she'd never felt before. Her hair was messy, her cheeks sun-flushed, and there was still a faint sticky trace of marshmallow on her fingers. When the announcement for dinner crackled through the intercom at the lodge, a collective groan erupted across the cabins. No, Gina mumbled from her bunk, face first in her pillow. I swear I can't move. Do we have to eat? Mia called out weakly. Can't we just snack on dreams tonight? But the teachers, led by the ever-cheerful Ms. Rayner, were relentless. Dinner is non-negotiable, she called from outside their doors. You'll need energy for tomorrow. It's not just food, it's fuel. Groans turned into sluggish movements. One by one, the students peeled themselves from beds, pulled on hoodies, and sleepwalked toward the dining hall like a herd of yawning zombies. Dinner was quiet. Plates were filled more out of obligation than appetite, and conversations barely rose above soft murmurs. Hannah poked at her rice and vegetables, forcing herself to eat as her eyelids fluttered dangerously low. Across the table, Gina was hunched over her tray, her head bobbing like a pendulum every few seconds. I feel like I'm chewing in slow motion, Gina muttered, eyes half closed. Lena, sitting next to her, blinked slowly and yawned. What are we even eating? My brain's not registering flavor. Suddenly, a loud clatter jolted the table. Everyone turned to see poor Dan standing frozen in the middle of the hall, his dinner plate shattered on the floor, vegetables and rice splayed like modern art. His eyes were wide with embarrassment, but he looked far too tired to even react properly. Sorry, he mumbled, rubbing his face. I think I fell asleep standing. There was a pause. Then quiet laughter bubbled up around the room. Not mocking, but the kind of shared fatigue that made everything a little funnier. It's okay, Dan, said Ms. Rayner, hurrying over with a napkin and a sympathetic smile. That's the 10th yawning accident I've seen today. Let's just get you a new plate. Or maybe just head to bed. No one asked for seconds. No one lingered at the dessert table. As soon as the last plate was cleared and chairs were gently pushed back in, the students shuffled back to their rooms like ghosts of their earlier energetic selves. They skipped the usual chatter and giggles. Pajamas were thrown on without much thought, and within minutes, most of the camp was fast asleep, light snores and peaceful sighs echoing in the stillness of the night. A printed notice taped to every cabin door read in cheerful font. Wake up call, 6 a.m. Morning yoga at the Center Hall courtyard. Start your day with fresh air and flexibility. But for now, sleep claimed them completely, deep and dreamless. The forest outside whispered in the dark, and the camp rested, ready to greet the sunrise.